Hi guys, welcome to Bible Talk with Rob Foster here in Benoni, South Africa. It's a cold and chilly day, although it's sunny. Today I want to speak to you about the tabernacle and how it points to Christ. Okay, they had these wooden stays, the wooden poles, and they had a silver top. Now silver speaks of redemption. Their stay wires were connected to copper rods that were beaten into the ground. They had to be half in and half out, signifying copper speaks of suffering, and how that they speak of Jesus' death and his resurrection, because they had to be half in the ground and half out the ground. Right, then they had a linen fence, a white linen fence, which speaks of Jesus, and in the front they had a door with four pillars, and this door had scarlet, purple and blue hangings, where you would go through. And the scarlet speaks of his blood, the blue speaks of his deity, his sonship as the Son of God, and the purple speaks of his royalty, his deity. Then when you went in, this linen fence was 100 by 50 by 100 by 50 cubits and 5 cubits high. So 100 plus 100 plus 50 plus 50 is 300 multiplied by 5. So the outer court speaks of the 1,500 years of the law from Moses until Jesus. Then we had the brass laver, the brass altar. It was made of wood, acacia wood, which is a durable wood, speaking of Christ's humanity, and then it was overlaid with brass, speaking of his suffering. The brass or the bronze would prevent the wood from burning as well. They would burn the sacrificial animal there. The next item that you come to is the brass laver, which is like a washing bowl, like a basin. This was made from the mirrors that the Israelite women brought out of Egypt, and they all contributed to make this. It speaks of washing of the word, like your word teaches you if you are worthy or not. So the priest would also wash up there and make sure that he's worthy to go in to the holy place. Then, entering the holy place, there were 5 pillars, and again we had the 5 speaks of grace. It was 20 cubits high, 20 cubits long, 10 cubits high, and 10 cubits wide. That's 2,000 if you multiply them. That speaks of the church age from Jesus until now. And then further than that, you had the holy place, the Holy of Holies, which was 10 by 10 by 10, which speaks of his millennial reign, the 1,000-year reign on earth. So when you got to this these 5 posts holding up the linen as the gate, again we see scarlet, red, for the blood, the blue for his deity and his sonship as God, and you got the purple, which is his royalty. They had cherubim embroidered on the outside. Now this system of buildings was put together with boards, and it was overhung by ram skin and goat skin and everything. It was ram skin dyed red. So from the outside it didn't look like anything special. Just like Isaiah says, he had no comeliness before him. He had nothing that we should desire. He didn't look like anybody special. He looked like a normal man. And so this tabernacle was as well. The tabernacle was where the priest entered once a year to atone for the sacrifices of the Israelite people in the Holy of Holies. But he used to go every Sabbath and he would change the showbread. There's a table of showbread on the right hand side, which was also shittim wood or acacia wood, speaking of his humanity, and it was overlaid by gold sheets, or gold foil, as you want to call it now. It had 12 loaves, and the loaves were to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. And these loaves were replaced every Saturday. Opposite that, there was another item of furniture called the candlestick, or the menorah, which was a single shaft beaten into place like Jesus was beaten, and there were 6 side branches coming out up to the same height, and this thing was powered by pure olive oil, and there was never any light in there except for that. The outer court contained natural light. The inner chamber, or the holy place, had just the light from this candlestick, and that was made of pure gold. They reckon today it would have cost about $1.5 million to make. And so this was the light, signifying that he's the light of the world. He is the central shaft of that candlestick. Now, in front of the holy place, the curtains to the holy place, was an item of furniture which was also wood overlaid with gold. It was the altar of incense, where they used to burn incense, and the incense would go inside the Holy of Holies and reach God's nostrils. Now, in that Holy of Holies, remember when Jesus died, that temple veil was torn. That was the temple veil at that stage, not the tabernacle, because the tabernacle was a temporary meeting place. Inside there was the Ark of the Covenant, which was made of wood, overlaid in pure gold, and it had a seat, a mercy seat was it called, and it had 2 cherubim with their wings outstretched facing each other. And inside this Holy of Holies, inside this mercy seat, if you take the seat off, because the priest had to sprinkle the blood, inside that was the 10 Commandments, and Aaron's rod that budded. It was an almond rod that budded, and also a pot of manna. So if you take the lid off with the blood sprinkled on it, then you're judged by the law. Then you're not saved by the blood. And this is where God said he would meet with them once a year on the Day of Atonement, and God would be seen as a glow above the cherubim, above that mercy seat, in the form of a Shekinah glory, which was like a luminous glow. That is where God said he would meet with the priest, the high priest. Now the high priest had to tie bells, and he had a bell and a pomegranate and a bell and a pomegranate on his bottom of his clothing, because if he was unworthy, he would be struck dead, and they would tie a rope around his legs so that they could pull him out. So later this became the temple with the same furnishings inside. It wasn't David who built it. It was his son Solomon who had the honor, because David committed adultery with Bathsheba, so he was not allowed to build it, although God said to him, "You're a man after my own heart." And this temple was destroyed later, and it was rebuilt and destroyed again. So today there's no current temple in Jerusalem, but they have everything together already. They've got the candlestick, they've got all items of furniture, and the high priest's clothing. Everything is ready, and they are about to set it up. In fact, they have a tabernacle which they can set up in hours, which they can start their animal worship again. That is what they desire. But Christ replaced all animal worship. We don't need animal worship. We just need his blood. And please, people, accept his blood, because without blood there is no remission of sins. There is no salvation. Okay, next time we'll talk again. Till next time, people. Bye-bye.